Welcome to God's Love for the Unlovable Gospel Rant series, the format Vagabond Diaries. We're going to be doing this through the summer, and then we'll switch back to some biblical series, Acts 1 to 5, maybe Job. Anyway, for now, we want this to be fun, biblical, just reeking with the gospel of God's innate love for the unlovable, the unloved, and the unlovely, and that's all of us on any given day. We want it to be life-changing, foundationally biblical, relevant, entertaining, and thought-provoking. That's the uniqueness of the Vagabond Diaries. And it's a rant. You know, you may be offended, you may not agree, and that's okay. Our goal is to make the truth seen through different lenses and get dialogue to begin. Yep. And today's Vagabond Diary, we're going to join breaking news for a heavily pressed conference. We did one of these a while ago. This is number 2. Thought it'd be a good time based upon the political landscape for an update. So have some fun. So welcome to God's Love for the Unlovable, Gospel Rant, and Vagabond Diaries. Heavenly Capitol Press Conference. Here's the news commentator. Breaking news, we're about to hear from Angel Michelle, the Pearly Gates official spokesperson, in a scheduled press briefing anytime now. The Angel Michelle will be at the podium and will no doubt have something to share related to current events and happenings related to you, our listeners. Maybe some thoughts about the economy, border, wars, record-breaking weather patterns we're seeing. We're going to break into it live once the press briefing begins. I wonder what the spokesperson is going to say about recent happenings in Gaza, Ukraine, Iran, Haiti, the religious suffering, China, Afghanistan. You know, there's just so many potential topics for heaven to be considering. Maybe we get some clarification on important issues such as sexuality, denominational battle, life. Okay? Oh, wait, here, yep, Michelle's there now. Let's go live. This is Angel Michelle, the Trinitarian spokesperson. Michelle, thanks to all of you for coming. I know everyone is quite busy, and I'm going to say just 2 short comments that we think are very important and should get out there to your constituents and listeners, and I'm sure, hey, it's going to generate a few questions, yeah? First, we would like to congratulate the new Pope. He has his hands full, that's for sure. Second, and this is of great importance to Christians in particular, no one is more aware of humans' predilection to be bitter, resentful, attacking, blaming, defaming the reputation of others in ways that are heartless, compassionless, and unwarranted. In a word, it is a normal part of human nature to be ugly to yourself and to others. And some of it, by the way, is not all your fault. We've said it before. Your midbrain has been fried by so many hurtful and damaging relationships where people have wounded you, let you down, frankly, just abused you. It's designed to react to protect you from being hurt again. So inhuman, ungodly, reactionary behavior is regretful, but normal. These are some of the many reasons that Jesus died on the cross 2,000 years ago. So I want to just take a moment before I take questions to remind Christians that significant reductions in typical reactionary, selfish behaviors can be experienced. About 2,000 years ago, our friend Paul wrote to the fragile and reactionary fledgling congregation in the town of Ephesus about this very thing. You see, he was modeling a way that they could adjust and push against their own human destructive faults and tendencies. He prayed to God, the Father, that he would slather the Ephesians, each individually and together corporately, with his heavenly, unique, transforming power, so that they would begin to actually experience the vast love of Jesus for them and for others. See, the idea was that without that, they would be as nasty and self-protecting as anyone else. And that hardly reflects the innate DNA of our Lord Jesus. But with that power surging through their brains, humans would actually be kinder, more compassionate and patient with others, including those they greatly disagree with, politically or otherwise, and who have hurt them politically or otherwise, and it would be obvious to others, right? The rhetoric would not only be turned down a few notches, there might even be some thoughts of kindness and working together. And since they're having their human need to be honored and favored, satisfied a little or a lot by that power and subsequent vast love of Jesus for them and others, they just won't react or fly off the handle as quickly in this current political, divisive climate. And boy, would that be noticeable. And also, side benefit, they would be filled with fruit of the Spirit more. And I want to highlight faith, in spite of what it has been popularly understood as being limited to conversion alone, salvation. It's an ongoing thing. Substance, stuff, power, including trust. It's a paradigm shift that convinces humans that God is not only really good, he's really still driving the car. He's got this. He's still working all things together for good, and that includes all of this political falderall. He's calling the shots, and the plan is moving forward. It may not go how everyone likes. We get that, but that's on us, heaven, and your lack of sight and faith. This heaven-sourced faith is needed because humans without it feel that everything is up to them and their actions, and that will only lead to more anxiety and shame and fear of failure, worry, arguments, fights, slander, heightened rhetoric, by the way, on both sides. So in summary, Christians, we're inviting you to ask every morning, some of you twice a day, for God's power through the Spirit in your inner being until you start beginning to feel Jesus saying to you, "You're my beloved son or daughter with whom I'm well pleased." And that's before you read the paper or internet or listen to any of the news outlets. And then we're inviting you to ask for this heaven-sourced faith, heaven-born faith, so that the weight of the world's future is off of your shoulders a bit. Here in heaven, we refer to it as a chill. Yeah, be a little chill. That's what we like to call it. Okay, I'll answer some questions. CNN correspondent, Art Spinkter, CNN. So, Michelle, is Jesus voting Republican or Democratic in the midterms, or is he independent? Michelle. Art, as I have said every other time you've asked that question before, you must remember that Jesus is not an American citizen, so he is not allowed to vote for either party. If anything, he would be able to vote in Israel's election, but they have rules against people who have died who still want to keep voting. Understandable. Instead, Jesus is pursuing each and every candidate to be embraced by his love for the unlovable, the unloved, and the unlovely. They would each be well served to lean into that embrace and to ask for God's power to love others and to be loved. You probably are aware that naked human power is addictive. And if they would regularly have their identity cups filled with the fullness of God, the Father, they would need that power less. They'd be less grabby. Just say, it would make a difference. CBS, Scooter Peel, CBS special reporter. As a result of the big, beautiful bill, millions of people will die from budget cuts to Medicaid. Any comments? Michelle. Well, thank you for that insightful, objective, fact-based question, Scooter. And by the way, I'm being sarcastic if you don't know. First, I would draw your attention to my initial comments. I do not have your file in front of me, so I do not know if you're a Jesus follower or not. No matter. Either way, I would invite you to run to Jesus' embrace quick before you write your story. Certainly be loved like you haven't been loved before or in a long time, and get that power I spoke about so that you do not need to use exaggerations and unsupported hearsay to make your reputation and gain readership as much anymore. The Lord is more concerned for the well-being of those on Medicaid than anyone else. Many of them are already his beloved children and are likely looking forward to something better in eternity. So in the present, we call on all Christians to get the same power so that they would access the same Jesus love for others, including and especially the mentally ill, the aged, the poor, the struggling. Though it is true, we will always have all of those categories with us, or or be them, Spirit-empowered Jesus followers have always been more than gracious and want to be. So we in heaven really don't expect a secular government to consistently do those things. We have a higher king who actually loves them. Next question. CBS, follow-up question. But what about the illegal arresting and sending immigrants out of the country without due process? God is a just God, right? Wouldn't heaven support trials for each? Michelle. Well, that is a very complicated issue, isn't it? So first, each and every one of those immigrants, as well as all the citizens, will have due process before the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. We guarantee that. It will be very objective and final. Either you follow Jesus or you don't. So we call on ICE officials and others involved to run to Jesus and get filled with his power so that they would experience his higher justice, compassion, and love for each of the immigrants they deal with face to face. Jesus washed Judas's feet. Yeah? This is his nature and DNA to love the unlovable, the unloved, and the unlovely. And that would include the helpless. That would include the immigrants. So we invite those who transport those men and women and boys and girls, the jail officials, the judges, wherever they are, sent to also ask for God's power through the Spirit so that they would also treat these people with kindness and justice in Jesus' heart. And that includes his sense of objective justice, of course. We would invite the executive, legislative, and judicial branches to do the same. Boy, that'll make a difference, right? So that the process would rise to new heights of gracious justice and care for both immigrants and citizens and honor. We don't expect much of that from those who do not have such a conduit to the power of God and the empowerment of Jesus' unique love in their inner being. But we do have great expectations for the many Jesus followers to raise that bar in these complicated areas. So immigration policy should graciously and justly protect citizens and none, reflecting God's heart for his image bearers' humanity. Art Spinkter, CNN Chief Heaven correspondent again. So is Jesus a Republican or Democrat? Is Michelle. Art, that remains an unhelpful question, as it was the first time you asked it. And as I said before, just moments ago, Jesus is not a U.S. citizen and so is not part of either party. Next question, Fox News. Peter Dosey-Doe, Fox News. So any comments on White House and Democratic cover-up of the former president's health and cognitive capacity? Yeah, I was expecting that question, and it is on topic, by the way, Peter. So listen, the former president is a beloved of Jesus, and he will relatively soon be ushered into a new body with an amazing, inexplicable health and cognitive ability. The Lord is personally excited about spending quality time with him. The same could be said for the current president. It doesn't take much to become a Jesus follower, really. In fact, Jesus did it all. So once again, calling on Jesus followers in the press and elsewhere to begin to show deference to Jesus' beloveds on both sides and ask for the power of the Spirit to see it his way. And as mentioned, to do that, since so much vitriol and mistrust and hurtful things have been said and done, you're going to need massive shots of heavenly power through the Spirit in your inner being so that you will actually begin to feel a taste of both Jesus' love and honor for both presidents and members of both parties. With regard to a cover-up, we appreciate truth, but there is a truth that murders the way it's developed and said, and a truth that is healing the way it's developed and said. We're for the latter. Peter Dosey-Doe, follow-up. Didn't Jesus have some strong words for some people, like the religious leaders and teachers? So look at you, Peter, doing some in-depth research. Good on you. First, he's God and can say whatever he wants to whomever he wants to. Second, there was nothing in the soul of Jesus that was petty, destructively reactionary, right? Meaning reactions with no purpose or value, meaning other than to hurt people. And remember, whether we can see it or not, all things, including his strong words, were given to work together for good, right? And lastly, and this is the complicated one, you'll have to stretch your brain. He said to those people a parallel with stronger feelings of pure love than even their mamas had for them. He did not desire their destruction, but for them to wake up and to turn and follow him. And many did. Peter said as much in one of his first sermons. The good news is meant for those who crucified Jesus. Powerful stuff, and it speaks to Jesus' consistent motivation for the good of those who threw rocks at him. And that would include the religious leaders and Pharisees. So we've said before, unlike humans, Jesus loves men and women not for what he finds in them, but for what lies within himself. It's not because men and women are good that he loves them. See, not only good men and women that he loves the loveless, the unloving, the unlovable. He doesn't detect what is congenial, appealing, attractive, and then respond to it with his favor. In fact, he doesn't respond at all. The Father of Jesus is a source. He acts, he doesn't react. He initiates love. His love is without motive. And if he knows that someone will eventually respond by being called something hard to hear, he's going to do it without any hesitancy. Like I said, many Pharisees followed him. Art Spinkter, CNN Heavenly Chief Correspondent. So, if Jesus were a citizen and was running for president, under which party's banner would he be a candidate? Michelle. Yeah, Art, thanks again for your typically in-depth, insightful question. I refer you to the spokespersons for both parties for their opinions. I would remind everyone that Jesus is Lord and is already in a high authority. The party should come under his banner. It makes little sense that he would step down from that high place to become congressman or justice or president now. When he refused the offer of kingdoms once before, if you recall, I'm sure he hadn't changed his mind. Well, that's going to be all for the day. Thank you for your attention. Have a great day. News commentator. So that was Angel Michelle. She urged Christians in particular, but also others, to access Jesus' power through the Spirit so that they may feel Jesus' love for self and others, particularly for those you have heated disagreements with, and reminded this audience that Jesus still loves the current and former presidents and still does not fully agree with either one of them on policy. He is still not an American citizen, and immigration policy and others should look like Jesus. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. The end. So here's some dialogue starters that I thought about. What would it look like, sound like, and feel like for politicians to get shot with Jesus' love for self and others? How about us? Immigration and other things are pretty controversial. What does Jesus feel about immigrants, men and women, boys and girls? What about border, immigration policy? Isn't that how Christians should feel? And don't forget, he's all about justice and laws as well. It's complicated. If Jesus was talking to news reporters, what might he say? Honestly, well, what do you think? If you were writing this, is Jesus supporting one party over the other? Well, if you like this Vagabond Diary, please like and subscribe and forward the link to a friend, please. That helps us out more than you know. Check out my fantasy books, the award-winning Kingdom Quest series. The Tale of the Orphan Magician is available on Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble on June 2nd. It picks up many of the themes that we dealt with in this talk, actually. Unbelievable action and message for 10 to 16-year-olds. Get the whole series. If you want more information, check out my author page, drbillsenior.com. Check it all out. Take heart, child of God.